Hey everyone, welcome to Live Tactical Live, your one-stop shop for everything to protect yourself and your family, organization, community.
All the important things.
Yeah, I am your host, CEO and founder of Trident Shield, Jason Perry, former Navy SEAL, former Boston SWAT, as well as executive protection specialist and corporate security specialist.
I am Lauren Perry, co-owner of Trident Shield, VP of Operations for Trident Shield, and all things relatable.
Yeah, she's way more than that. We're gonna have to come up with some super
Well, so he goes through his whole legit resume that's all relevant to what we're talking about, and I'd be like, dog trainer. Yep.
That's not true. You're a mom now.
Okay, dog trainer and a mom.
All right, but you're a dog trainer and a mom and you're part of this consulting stuff too.
All things relatable.
Right. All right.
That's better than the introduction I got one time at a client thing anyways.
Oh my God. I forgot about that.
What was the word that he said?
She's just an absolute delight.
Absolute delight.
Lauren.
Yeah, we won't name this, but it was in front of a big group of people, and we were being introduced, and Jason had this impressive, Jason Perry is da 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 da, and all of these things impressive and tactical and awesome, and he said, and Lauren is an absolute delight. Really, everyone laughed at me. I got beat red. It was bad.
Okay. So now here you are. You're facing the room. You could be the words in his mouth. What would you want to be?
Positively awesome.
Right now, look at the camera and blow your own horn.
Dog trainer.
Maybe absolute delight was the best thing in that. Then. If it's you and all you can say is dog trainer, maybe absolute delight was a great compliment.
I am a bachelor's of science from University of New England.
Here goes bachelor's
in animal behavior. Okay, I'm an absolute delight, and let's talk about China.
So China, Tucker Carlson, we've been covering, I ripped on him yesterday for kind of half reporting on something. And but then he did something that only he does out there is he held the powerful accountable and went after McKinsey, who's the number one consulting, one of the most powerful companies in the world, and they are the number one consulting firm around the globe.
So that they'll consult for international companies, even if it's not for the betterment of the United States.
Yeah, they get paid to think for whoever hires them. So if Columbia hires them, they're in Columbia's best interest. Yep. So he took them on hardcore 2 nights ago, and then last night he had a former longtime McKinsey consultant on there who worked for China, who's written books that were basically propaganda pieces for China. Yeah. And I want to give this guy a lot of kudos. I can't remember his name. Is that he had a lot of guts going on Tucker Carlson, and he communicated very effectively. Mm-hmm. And I thought Tucker missed a chance to have a deep conversation with him with some gotcha questions that he asked over and over again. Like, do you regret? Do you whatever? And it's like it was like he came at him with some stupid stuff I'd expect to see on CNN. Mm-hmm. Like with him, I would have rather have seen him roll up his sleeves, unpack it, and ask some really deep stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for someone from how Tucker introduced him, he reached out to the show to request to come on to respond to Tucker's essentially hit piece from the night before. And so I think when someone knows they're walking kind of into the lion's den as far as that they already know Tucker's agenda. And
he was respectful. Yeah. He was a class act on there. I mean, I could see why he did well.
He deserved a good conversation, a fair debate.
And not gotcha questions.
Exactly.
I would have rather have seen Tucker slow it down and said, okay, I have an opportunity here. This guy's not a buffoon, because sometimes the people who show up, they're raging,
yeah, he's
whatever.
Articulate and thoughtful about his answers, whether you agree with them or not.
Tucker was right
trying.
to propose the questions of, the million Muslims in prison camps, and all that stuff. And this guy did I think he's part of the problem. Don't get me wrong. I think, McKinsey and a lot of think tanks made a lot of money advising against America's better interests.
So essentially how I picked up on it, there was kind of two parts to the interview. One was talking about this guy's statements about
from his book and how much he admired China.
Praise for how China handled the quarantining efforts compared to the United States, and saying, that they basically contained it to Wuhan, and they acted strongly.
Their strong action. He was praising their strong action.
And that stopped it from spreading around the country, which would have been devastating. And Tucker was like, well, you do know that what they did was prevent people from leaving their apartments, and then they starved to death. And he was trying to throw it at him, like, how do you feel about that? And then saying, would you have supported those efforts here? Saying that Wuhan's essentially the size of New York City. Would you have agreed or praised if they had done the same thing here and let New Yorkers starve to death in their apartments? And he's like, well, no. And so I think that, why are you praising China for that? And but you're saying don't bring it here.
Yeah, well, the sad part is he bashed the U.S. as well during that. The McKinsey guy said, China was slow to react, and the U.S. was even slower to react. And we were slower to react because China didn't tell us the truth.
Yeah.
And then he praised China's response to it, where they locked down all travel to China, but then contaminated the whole world, which Tucker didn't follow up on that question. I thought that was the next piece.
Is this guy's name? Peter Walker.
Peter Walker, yeah. So what I thought would have been the best next question would have been, oh, so you're for them willingly and intentionally infecting the entire world? Because he said, they kept it relatively contained in China.
Yeah.
In China, but then we now have it everywhere, and the U.S. has millions of people infected.
Also with the huge caveat of, do you trust
the numbers?
And that really it's not elsewhere in China.
Yeah, and he gave a half-hearted saying that China should have been more disclosed more fully what should have happened, and the cover-up and all this stuff. But the damage was done at that point, and I really feel like, had Tucker not relaxed and said, hey, listen, dude, the next question be, so you're okay with how China handled the Wuhan? Yes, I'm okay. They did a great job. So you're okay with them intentionally infecting the rest of the world? Because they intentionally did that. They locked down Wuhan from traveling to them, but they said you can go to the U.S., you can go to Italy, you can go to Spain, you can go screw up the entire world, just you can't come into China. So that was the leveling the playing field, right? China just had a bunch of economic cost happen. They just had a big bunch of drama happen in their country. So rather than them only be the ones to get infected, they willingly and purposefully infected the rest of the world to level the playing field of the cost of this. And I think that's where we really have to hold them accountable. I think that the world needs to send them a bill.
Yeah.
And be like, forgive X amount of debt, this, that, the other thing, you're done.
Yeah. So, so this conversation, talking about, he was saying that we can't do the same measures that China does here because the U.S. Very strongly supports and advocates, and kind of what we stand on as principle is the individual is, way up here in sanctity, and that's kind of what we...
Individual freedoms versus societal benefit.
But China flips it. They say family, which I actually was surprised that he said family before society.
Yeah, I thought he was going to say society
family, individual, but he went family, society, and then individual way lower.
Right.
Which allows them to take these much more extreme measures on sacrificing some for the betterment of.
And they're a communist dictatorship,
Yeah.
right? What I don't know if that's the technical term for it, but they can literally shoot anyone in the face they want to.
Yeah.
They can get tanks and drive over people. They can padlock and chain people into their house, and they starve to death.
Yeah.
With zero consequences.
But it stopped it from spreading to the rest of the country. So.
Right.
Good on 'em.
Whereas right now here in America, we're crying about not being able to go to the park.
Right. And so then that evolved the conversation to, okay, so we have this internment camp for 1 million Muslims. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, which I thought, the guy's articulation of you can't hold China to U.S. or Western standards. Mm-hmm. He said U.S., but I would say Western standards if you want to talk about European.
Europe also, yeah.
Where the individual matters and whatever. They don't look at it that way. Mm-hmm. They look at, so they said, okay, we have 80 million people in this region. 1 million of them are Muslims and they're causing problems or whatnot is what they allege.
Yeah, so they were concerned about terrorism, and so they said, let's just get rid of the problem.
So let's put Muslims in a concentration camp or internment camps, whatever, concentration camps. Mm-hmm. And therefore 79 million people will be happy and only 1 million people will be unhappy. So 1.5%.
Yeah.
So, if you can have
they were okay with that math and they felt it justified.
That's how they do all their decisions. The greater good to their society is what they say they care about. Yeah. Now, I'm sure their politicians are not making sacrifices. I'm sure those in power live very lavishly.
So he was trying to, Pete, the guest was trying to articulate that that's the mindset of China. And a lot of people are looking at that interview like he personally believes that as well, or he supports that.
Those are snowflakes just trying to melt.
Yeah, it's like how did you pick up on his attitude or personal beliefs behind that in sharing China's perspective on this?
I thought he was basically my thoughts on him was that he was like an attorney in a.
So just kind of a neutral.
No, he wasn't neutral. He was advocating for his client. Mm-hmm. He was a defense attorney in a trial. Yeah. So he basically was sympathetic to his party. He stated their perspective. Mm-hmm. So their perspective is this is how they think. This is for the better of their country. That's their culture, and that's the way they operate. And there are billions of people. Yeah. We're 300 million. Yeah. Right? So, now, do I find him patriotic? Yeah. No. Right. Do I find him to be a competent consultant for China? I think he did a really good job for China. Mm-hmm. He screwed over the U.S.
Yeah,
his company screwed over the U.S. and gave bad advice for a very long time to a lot of U.S. companies. And the only regret he had was that we should have protected intellectual IP. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, what about middle-class America? What about our, infrastructure? What about our factories and manufacturing? And he's like, yeah, in wake of this, we can see that now. We need to revisit it. You're hired to consult on the future. Mm-hmm. You're hired to either solve a problem. So they should have saw this coming. Yeah. They're the group that's supposed to see this coming.
Yeah. So he was trying to justify and asked whether he regretted any of the actions that he took as
which
part
I think
of the
he
company.
Should have. Yeah.
He was saying that they were all acting in the way on the mindset that most people had at that time, which was the free trade and just kind of make money where you can make money, and that was an acceptable way to operate then, and that now might not be.
It was capitalism. He was acting on the best part of his client. His client was China. Mm-hmm. So he's supposed to do the best that China can do based on the capitalist, free trade agreement. Mm-hmm. Right. So if that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be. It was the biggest mistake we've ever had letting China into the World Trade Organization. Yeah. And it made a very few people wealthy. And at the cost of millions, maybe billions, it lifted China up out of poverty and the rest of the world suffered.
One thing that I thought was interesting is he's like, everyone's talking about how this acknowledgement that we cannot outsource to China our pharmaceuticals and safety concerns like that. Right. He was saying everyone's talking about, this is going to automatically bring back all these manufacturing jobs. But he's like, no, they're just going to go to the Philippines, Thailand.
I don't agree with that.
Other countries. So his perspective is it's really not going to be this boon on jobs manufacturing jobs that some people are talking up.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that if we as Americans let that happen, like I said, if we can't build it here now, right? Like if, let's say you give me a baby seat for your car.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say that right now there are no American manufacturers that make baby seats in your car. I'm not saying go without a baby seat and let your kid get killed in a car wreck.
Right.
I'm saying if you're going to buy one from one of your allies, like Vietnam, like whatever. Somebody who's not trying to dominate the world and steal everything and, is not torturing or ruining a million people.
It's just a matter of whether there's enough solution for those items in our allies, but still not our country, that we will still be not motivated to bring those manufacturing jobs here, which we've been talking about will be a benefit to the economy because there's going to be this influx in jobs.
We can't force the rest of the world to do that, but we can societally impact our 330 million or whatever we are now. And through peer pressure, through Buy American campaigns, through tariffs, whatever you want to do to motivate Americans to buy American products. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't want to buy anything from China. Everything from China I ever bought was garbage. Yeah. All cheap, disposable garbage. I mean, it's the last place I want to buy anything from. Everything I buy that I know is coming from China, I know when I get it, it's never going to look as good as I thought it was going to.
Or last nearly as long.
Yeah. So. And so I think that maybe people will do that, but I think right now we're poised to manufacture things at home. And I think that there are some things that we can't not allow, like pharmaceuticals, they have to be manufactured here locally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Domestically anyways. Yeah. And steel, Trump already started bringing back the steel market and all that. Auto manufacturers. If we didn't have these auto manufacturers here, we wouldn't have been able to make the ventilators we needed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think you need to have a certain amount of mandatory infrastructure that is made on ground before you outsource.
Yeah, agree. So we'll see. It was an interesting interview. The headline of it is like Tucker rips this guy and
shreds, and I didn't see that. No. I mean, he asked him like some hard questions, and the cheap one was, how much money did you make while you were doing that? Yeah. Which was like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
I would have rather have said, what percentage of Mackenzie's income comes from China?
Yeah, no, what did you personally
Not personally.
Make? Yeah.
I mean, that was a cheap shot. So, and I want to come right out and say I'm a Tucker Carlson fan. I think that a majority of what he does is spot on, but he's human just like everyone else. I mean, I love it when we were
talking about this with the interview, the California study interview, that when he gets something in his mind that he needs to prove a point about, he tends to get snarky, and those are his less impressive interviews and less impactful interviews.
I loved his interview on what happened to Cabela's with that vulture capitalist. Mm-hmm. I love when he takes China and like Mackenzie and Apple and Google to task because no one else is going to.
As you said, though.
I mean, I believe he has the best motivation. He wants America to do well.
As you said, though, most of those things you're largely uneducated about, the details. This coronavirus stuff, we have a good understanding of it because of the level that we talk about it ourselves. So you knew when he was kind of bullshitting a little bit on that and stretching things. So as you do have to look at some of his other pieces with a grain of salt and say, what is the other side of the story?
Very true.
And I think as with any news, it's always a good lesson. As with anything, do your own research as well. Don't choose one source, Tucker or otherwise, that you stake everything on. Always look to see if you can find other information that either reinforces what they said or offers a different point of view.
Yeah, well, I think, this whole coronavirus thing, as well as it's totally destroyed the news media. Mm-hmm. Like they've contradicted themselves. Why? Because they're reporting on what they're being told.
Like that fantastic, the video that.
Oh my God! Whoever that girl
was
is,
awesome.
Where she literally, this girl on social media, dressed up as a reporter with a bunch of like green screen mics in front of her, fake mics, and basically covered every storyline out of this and then contradicted it immediately within it. And it was some of the best stuff I've seen on social media in a long time.
Yeah, it was great. It was a highly accurate representation, I think, of the mass confusion that's gone on.
I'll try and
Nobody should wear masks, except everyone should wear masks if you're vulnerable, which a lot of people are vulnerable, but nobody's really vulnerable to this virus.
Yeah, but so you shouldn't wear masks unless you should.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just wanted to show you that, how disastrous the communication effort has been on this.
Yeah.
And, I don't hold Trump accountable for that. I mean, he contributes to the chaos and the confusion.
Yeah.
But it's the medical.
Hence the storyline that came out from yesterday's press
my
conference.
God. Go ahead. Cover that.
Well, I mean, I'm sure y'all have seen the big debate and oh my God, Trump said to inject cleaners.
Yeah.
to the point that it's being construed or misconstrued. That
willfully
Lysol
misconstrued.
has actually come out with a statement saying, please do not inject any of our projects or products.
Don't mainline
they are not
Clorox and expect that to work
I mean, if you
out well.
look at the clip or if you read what he said, it was a very Trump way of talking, which is always confusing. Like incomplete sentences, thoughts that don't go together.
Yeah.
Saying that wouldn't it be cool if you could do that, or is there something like we've learned that heat and light and certain cleaners can kill this virus? Is there some possibility of something that we can do that would be like an injection or something? He was not saying, hey, we found out that you can inject cleaner and it'll take care of everything.
Right.
And now it's being blown way out of proportion.
Well, it's just because everybody, purposely, well, not everyone, most of the mainstream media willfully tries to take things purposefully out of context. Yeah. It's like me saying, hey, we're going to play golf later. I'm going to kill it. Am I killing golf? I said I was going to kill golf. Oh, my God. He just said he's going to kill golf.
Who's golf?
Yeah. Who's golf? Is he going to kill all golf players ever? Is he going to, what's he going to do to kill golf? No, I'm talking about going out and having a really killer game. Killer game. He said killer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how ridiculous
we should
it
ban
is.
guns.
Yeah, ban guns, ban golf. You should ban golf. Anyways, but I actually find myself starting to enjoy
golf tennis.
So we have 3 big dogs, the most and sometimes we go out back and hit the tennis ball with the golf clubs, and the dogs love it. So we do it, and I'm having fun doing it.
And he's getting better at it, and he's like, maybe.
Yeah, but I'm not using a driver, guys. I'm using like the thing you use in the sand pits. The metal wedge thing.
Yeah, that thing.
You know what it's called?
No, I have no idea. But he rails against golfers. So the fact that he's like, I think I kind of like this.
I can't believe I just said that. I might have to edit this part out.
But anyways, Trump didn't help himself. It sounds stupid. It looks stupid. It was confusing. It made no sense. He shouldn't have said it. But
that's why I call Trump Yoda. I've always called Trump Yoda. He looks ridiculous. He sounds ridiculous, but he's brilliant under all that. I mean, he's a Jedi master under all that. There are things that he's really good at, and there are things that he's not good at.
Sometimes he thinks out loud, and those thoughts just shouldn't.
Yeah, I think his mind is like literally throwing things up against the wall to see what sticks.
He's a businessman. That's kind of what you do.
Yeah. But I love watching him handle the press. I love him like sitting there and taking dishonest reporters leading entrapment questions and just jamming them down their throat.
Yeah.
So the next thing I want to talk about is our big move to Maine.
Yes.
So,
it's still on. Those ships are still burned. We have not found
we burned the ships.
Rowboat.
We have not improvised and made a boat. We're not swimming for
Today's internet problems just were like, good thing we burned those ships.
Yep. We are out of here. Our pods come tomorrow.
Parents come tomorrow.
Yeah. And we're going to...
Baby care comes tomorrow.
Oh, my God. We're going to actually get something done. No, we're not. We're moving. So we're not going to get anything done.
We're going to get something done as in get this house cleared out, which holy smokes.
Yeah. So, anyways, we are, getting ready to start the process of getting up there. And, I have been looking for a very long time for a pastor I could believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And
there are many here to choose from.
Yeah, there are.
We've been through a lot of them.
We have been through a lot of them, and they're all good pastors. I mean, I don't want to say that my previous pastors are not good. There's one total plastic phony that I won't, mention his name, but the other ones, like Pete Harwig, great guy, but has a college background and, super brilliant, was the pastor at Princeton, heads up City Church, he is built to, that church is based around ministering to UVA.
Largely, yeah.
Gordon Hugenberger, who I considered my first mentor in Christianity, brilliant guy. I call him like a dorky Indiana Jones, one of the most brilliant minds in Christianity, can read the most obscure passage and is not afraid of any part of the Bible and dives into it and pulls meaning from it and adds context that you couldn't get. And I love that. As a former atheist, he was so brilliant in that.
But he's still of a very academic background.
He was still had a very academic
not all
background.
That relatable for you.
And it still wasn't very, like you said, it wasn't relatable. I could sit there and be amazed by what he said, but it wasn't very relatable to me. And they all stayed out of current events.
John Eldridge is the other one that's
John Eldridge,
closest, would you say?
John Eldridge is the least of that. And again, I don't want to be insulting to any of those guys. I would not call this, and it's not them I'm referring to, but the wussification of Christianity is really a problem for warrior mindset people like myself and people who love America and want to know where we fit in this whole equation and, and want to apply the Bible. The Bible applies to all things and want to use it as a tool to apply to our challenges of today. And I feel like...
Yeah, I know that whenever we're obviously really big in the active shooter world, and we would always go to church after an active shooter and be like, is this going to be addressed? And very rarely would something really be touched on beside maybe a line in like the opening prayer. And I think that was always disappointing, that these significant world events that a lot of people are concerned about wasn't being addressed through the biblical narrative on how should we handle this.
Yeah, their lack of flexibility. And again, I don't want to say that was Gordon. Gordon was good enough to get up there and improvise and do whatever. He was amazing. And he's still, like I said, one of the smartest guys I've ever seen. I just adore the man. But too often in too many churches, and we church shopped forever, they plan their series out a year in advance.
Yeah.
And they don't come off that, like you said, except for, oh, hey, it's Memorial Day. How's it going? And whatever, or, oh my God, this happened last night. We'll say a quick prayer and then back to rainbow unicorn Jesus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And not talking about the hard challenges that we have, that, if the church doesn't lead us out of this divisiveness we have right now, where our country is, a powder keg, and, one really bad event from another civil war. I don't know how we can come back from that. If they don't get involved. They're the only hope we have.
Yeah.
So I have been church shopping up in Maine. I'm like, man, I'm coming from evangelical, the capital, the South. The South there's no shortage of churches here. If they still had yellow pages, which I don't think they do, it would be 300 pages of churches, one library, one sporting goods store, some pizza shops, and some restaurants, and be done, right? That's down here. I'm going to Maine. That's not going to be the case. I mean, secularism and atheism thrives in the Northeast. That's where I was raised. That's why part of the reason why I was an atheist for 37 years.
Same.
And you too, right? You know, and so I'm like, man, I'm screwed going to Maine. So, you know, I was looking online all over the place.
But at the same time, I mean, especially kind of in your recent reapproach and refinding of faith in Jesus and like where you are right now, which is an amazing place, you were like, maybe the point of going to Maine is to bring that I can provide some value in the void.
Right. And that's what I was kind of thinking is, well, maybe that's my calling to go up there and you know, try to find like-minded individuals and see if I can help, you know, bring the message up there. And so, you know, we're doing a podcast yesterday, and one of our supporters, John, sends me a link, and he's like, check this guy out. He's legit.
He's in Maine.
He's in Maine, and he's legit. And he shows me a clip of Ken Graves. And I think I've watched about 7 hours of his content right now. I can't get enough of it. It's the most fearless preaching I've ever seen. You know, as a company, we have to, you know, navigate the world of not offending clients. We're so, you know, if our Republican people think we're Democrats, we're going to lose them as business. If our Democrats think we're Republicans, we're going to lose business. A lot of times that's just how it goes. And to see this pastor wading in and weighing in on every issue, abortion, same-sex marriage, gender identity, politics, you know, everything, and fearlessly weighing in on it was so damn refreshing. It's everything I've ever wanted to hear from my pastor. And I was just like, okay, I need to get as close to this guy as possible. I don't care how we do it.
And,
you know,
that aside, I mean, you've also just really enjoyed how he goes after his sermons and weighing through the Bible, not just his. And
he's a manly dude.
Biblical approach to current events, which is very important, but also how is he going over these stories, which we've heard sermons on all these stories before, but you've really liked.
I've really enjoyed how he interprets them. I think he does a very good job of it. He's got the deepest voice you've ever heard. It sounds like two mountains grinding together. Like the first time I heard him, I couldn't understand a word he was saying until I got, you know, it was hard to understand him. His voice is so deep. It's like deeper than TD Jakes, which I didn't think was possible. And then once I got used to hearing his voice, now I can hear it from anywhere and I can understand it. And I'm like, that's instantly him. And he's got a hell of a singing voice too. He's got some pipes on him. And I was just totally blown away by him. Love the way he did it. And he's a manly dude. He's wearing flannel. And
tattoos.
He's got tattoos. I mean, he's a real dude.
He's a man after his heart.
Right? You know, he's got a way better beard than I do. I can't grow a beard like him.
So basically, this guy has been glowing since last night because he has a new best friend, even though the new best friend doesn't even know about it. Right. But it's been so awesome to see because he's been looking so long for a mentor to look up to in this space. And I think he's found it. And you really go into, you rail on leadership and pastors who don't really walk the walk.
Most of them are cowards and they won't really lead.
This guy, Pastor Ken, came out and did a very good display of leadership in addressing something that related to the coronavirus, and they were trying to do a drive-in service that he had to kind of walk back from, and just his explanation of that and his viewpoint of that was very honest.
It was 100% accountability. He explained it. I mean, it was just great leadership, and I'm like, that's a guy I can follow. So I totally was a creeper, and I went on the website last night, and I sent him an email with my testimony, and then I went to it like it was on. I'm like, I didn't hear from him last night. I'm like, oh man. So I'm clicking refresh, and I'm scrolling up.
God, it's like
so ridiculous.
Dating, like sending a message to a crush. Is she responding yet? It's so cute. But it's the best. He's getting all red.
So anyways, I'm like, man, I want this guy to be my friend. I want to learn at this guy's feet. I mean, he was very inspiring to me. And in a world where uninspiring people or inspiring people are so rare.
Yeah.
And to have somebody that I felt
truly authentic.
Yeah, and and it wasn't just in front of his home crowd. I watched a sermon of him in Napa Valley, California, saying the same hard truths. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, wow. So I was so blown away by him. I sent him an email. I still haven't got one from him. So, if in like 3 months and we're buddies and Ken, you want to go back and watch this, you didn't get back to me. So then my creeper butt got on, went to their Facebook page. And then I sent them a message saying that, hey, we're relocating our family. I didn't tell him and I didn't fill him in on anything. I didn't want to be like, dude, I am ready to uproot my entire family, move there, and change our entire plans because I saw you speak and it spoke to my heart. And, I meant to learn from this guy. And because I figured I'd freak him out. But anyways, that was
so we'll keep you posted on
if he gets back to us.
But we've been thinking. So we just last week really made this decision to move, and you've said that you felt very at peace at it. You've recently kind of become more connected with God. You feel like you're kind of on the same page right now, and you had peace about this decision.
Well, let me walk us through that. So I became very at peace, and my stress level went down 1,000-fold because I surrendered to His will. Mm-hmm. I finally started to say, instead of having 57 plans with contingencies and all these different things, I'm going to do my part, and God's going to work out the rest. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do my due diligence, and I'm going to bust my butt. And God will make happen what's supposed to happen. So, if Pastor Ken doesn't call me back or whatever, we don't.
But just where I was going with that. We don't fit in there.
It's good to go.
Where I was going with that, though, is like, so we know that we're moving to Maine.
Yeah.
My family's in southern Maine, Freeport coast. And we've been looking around there. We've been looking in New Hampshire, kind of an hour to 90-minute drive from my parents. And where this guy is, Bangor, Maine, is 2 hours. And he's always been interested in that area. That was kind of a no.
I said, where's the prettiest part of Maine? Everyone told me Acadia.
It was like a no-go for me just on the drive time, so I hadn't been considering it. And we hadn't been looking there at all. And he finds this connection with this pastor just yesterday. And now all of a sudden, like without questioning it really, both of us are on Zillow looking for houses or rentals in that area. And so it's like, it's such an interesting feeling to kind of not question. So if feeling like, how do you know, is this God's plan? And you found this, you were sent this message from this pastor and you have this connection and you have this feeling that you need to meet him and learn from him. And we just change course completely without thinking about it I start second guessing it, and I think that's pretty natural, especially because this is not my feeling, it's your feeling, and being like, well, maybe it's not really God's thing. Is this the right thing? Oh, I really don't want to be 2 hours from my parents. And so I know I get in my own way a lot. So it's an interesting perspective or thought process to have of trusting the plan.
God. Trusting God.
And knowing when it actually is the plan.
Now, I've had some experience on this. I know for a fact that we were supposed to move to Lynchburg, and I did not follow God's plan. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I went down there. I was meeting with senior faculty at Liberty, and all I can say is I felt this incredible pull of grounding, like straight down into the ground, like that's where I was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't convenient, and it didn't match up with timelines and a bunch of other things, and I didn't heed that, and everything blew up that was going down there. We had some really good prospects, some really good things going, never materialized, and then I felt a separation.
And then I know. I think I heard you voice it as well. I know that. Well, good thing we didn't move to Lynchburg because that stuff at Liberty didn't work out.
Right.
And we were saying that in hindsight after we'd made the decision not to move. And it's who knows what would have happened if we had actually followed that. And I think that's how a lot of people justify not following the plan.
Yeah, and then I felt a massive separation, like when Lauren and we have a really tight relationship. So anytime there's any space with us, I can tell when she's mad at me, whether I know I did something or not, or something's wrong, because I feel that space between us. Like I really feel that we share one being, kind of, as a way. You know, it's like magnets. It's like you feel that it's like there and it pulls, and all of a sudden it's not. Mm-hmm. And I felt that go away, and I'm like trying to get back to God, and I had to repent, and I had to surrender to His will and said, all right, this is your company. This is your plan. This is what you're doing. I surrender to you. Take us where you want. What I'm doing ain't good enough. You know, you take it. And since then, I've just been feeling this overwhelming pull to go up north. And when I felt this, when I saw Ken talk, I was just like, it started happening again. I felt like, you know, in sci-fi movies, the tractor beam, the boom, and it's pulling you in. And that's really what I feel like.
Well, and what I'm learning, you have a much stronger intuition, gut feel, that visceral connection when you are in sync with God. And that's not kind of where I don't have that, or I don't trust it, but I'm learning to trust yours. Right. And that's very hard for me.
Well, no, you're doing such an amazing job.
Especially when it goes counter to what my vision was for on the earthly side of things, which was we're moving up to Maine for family. And so let's get as close as possible. And so I am trying to put that aside to trust your feeling.
Well, I hadn't even mentioned moving. Like, this is how amazing my wife is. I didn't even put banger on the table, wasn't even on there. And I just started talking to her about this guy up there and started seeing stuff, and she saw me starting to get really excited, and I hadn't proposed it. I haven't done any of that stuff. And my amazing, gracious, loving wife was already looking at homes there. You have no idea how much that. You have no idea how much that meant.
I trust you.
Because I know that was not your choice. And for you to go out of your way to be like, to acknowledge that this is something real was really important.
Well, I'll lighten the mood and say this was despite every fiber of my being, because you guys, they had a frickin' blizzard on April 10th. A blizzard on April 10th.
It was 70 here that day, I think.
It was beautiful here.
So
what the heck? I'm from Maine, but I'm from coastal Maine. You guys, that weather is different.
So this is how awesome it was, right? So I'm watching like past sermons, right? I want to see how they're dealing with this. And like we saw that, you know, that where he basically said, you know, he owned a mistake that he made and had to backtrack on a decision. And earlier on in that sermon, they're like, for those of you guys who are watching us online, you don't realize this because they're in the sanctuary, but we had a lot of snow last night with a lot of trees down, and there was no power. And we had shoveled a path to the back of the property because they were going to have a bonfire fireside service.
He wanted to say F yeah.
Yeah, that was so good.
And so he's up here like, do you know how bleeping awesome that is? And I was like,
I never would have gone to church in a freaking blizzard, but if I know they're having a bonfire and a service there, and that dudes are out there making that happen, I'm like, get me there. I will go hike, ski, snowshoe, whatever it takes to get that is awesome.
But he's over here like, yeah. And I'm like, did you just hear what you said? Blizzard on April 10th. No power because of a snowstorm on April 10th. So, guys, we'll let you know if Ken responds to him.
Yeah, I'm sitting here, even as we speak, clicking refresh on my inbox.
So he sent him the testimony, and he was like, there have been 119 views of my testimony. And so he was spam recycling his YouTube page, and then he came upstairs glowing. Someone viewed my testimony.
It's up to 121 now. Just letting you know.
Oh, man, guys. So, well, this
is so embarrassing. I need to delete all this.
It's awesome. I think everyone wishes they could be so passionate about faith, their relationship with God, and their pastor. And I think a lot of people are out there spinning in circles like you've been on feeling like they have nobody to connect to. So,
I'm just saying this dude says stuff like no one does. I mean, it was just like I could not stop watching. Like I could not stop watching. And a lot of it's hard truths of stuff that, and I don't agree with some of the things that he says, but I believe that he's so genuine. Like so many pastors are freaking plastic as the day is long, and I mean, we both have met a pastor that there was nothing there. It was like there was light on you when he looked at you, and the second he went away, it was gone. It was like he was the most phony, plastic dude ever, and it just was such a turnoff. And that church is exploding because they have a great media crew. The best welcomers in the business. Their pastor is a complete fraud. But man, to see a guy this real, and like not a part of like some mega church either, where you're never going to even know him. You're just like one in a sea of a billion.
Yeah, because I mean,
he's in a small little church.
Suburb of Bangor in Maine. So, I mean, it's not a big community as it is. And he's in this little town. So it is interesting because, I mean, there it looks like in an old like gymnasium complex kind of thing. Very humble, nothing fancy. But then, yeah, he's apparently sought after as far as a speaker.
And, so you guys know my background. You're watching the show. So I obviously run in like warrior cliques. And I know a bunch of guys and we've all been lamenting for decades that no one really speaks to the Warriors hard except for John Eldridge. But if you look at John Eldridge, he's a skinny little dude.
Nothing
right?
Against skinny
Nothing
little
skinny little dude, but he's like a skinny little dude, like whatever. And like he writes the best prayers, and that's who I listen to in the morning, and that's who I start my day with. Don't get me wrong. I love John Eldridge, but he's hard for me to relate to, And
you haven't heard him speak.
I haven't heard him. I don't think he does sermons
and stuff like that. So you
he doesn't really do sermons.
If he'd step out in that way.
Right. I mean, he just writes books and does his podcast thing and drop zones and all that, which I think are great. I mean, I'm so thankful for John Eldridge, but I started showing, you wouldn't believe the uproar from fellow SEALs, cops. Like everyone's like, where has this guy been my entire life?
So now Jason's trying to get everyone to move.
Now we're trying to build a compound.
Who wants blizzards in April with us?
So now I'm like, it's time to build a compound.
There's plenty of space up there.
I went and I took, some snippets from his YouTube or from a YouTube that somebody made of the pastor of Ken. And I started sending him like, so when you moving up? Should we save your bedroom? Dude's like, how close are you going to be? I'm like, as close as I can. I'm going to be the creeper, like across the street.
Oh, boy.
By the house across the street. Like, hey, Ken, how you doing? Taking out trash. Hey, here's your paper.
Yeah, we should really stop this conversation. Cross it over.
I joke. But no, I just am really excited that to be able to have the opportunity to attend that church, hear him speak, and finally be able to ask somebody some hard questions, knowing that they're going to give me what the honest truth of what they think. And, you know, I mean, he goes after some hard stuff, man. And it's
Calvary Chapel,
banger,
in Orrington, Maine.
Yeah.
Ken Graves. Go check him out.
Yeah. So
tell us what you think.
I'm going to cut out some of this stuff, like the paper and the trash can part.
Why? It's not creepy at all.
Oh, anyways. I swear I've never been like this before, but
that says something, right?
It does. But anyways, so the moral of the story is that when you surrender to God, a lot of things have happened. I mean, business opportunities have opened up for us.
I did think it was interesting. So we had these 2 awesome referrals come in 2 days ago now, I guess. And you said, now, is this God telling us to stay here because this is where the clients are based? Or is this God saying, good for listening, you're moving to Maine, which is what I want you to do, and here's good things happening?
Yeah.
It's like you even then, I don't know if you were joking or not, but
I was just messing with you because I know you. No, we're going to Maine. We burn the ships. We put it. I mean, that's the whole spiel.
But that's how easy it is, though, to question the plan.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Yeah. No, I think we're going to be blessed, and I think we're going to do well. And I'm very, very excited for what the future holds. And, I just feel like things are getting better and better, and my stress level's gone down. There's still a lot of hard work, but it's the easy stuff now. Decision's been made. Now it's where do we live? What becomes available? What's on the market? And we go from there. But you know what?
So now this, our camp that was like bottom of the barrel, least desirable option of where we were going to live during the summer if we needed to.
It's Caesar's Palace now.
Now he's like, camp, because it's closer to Bangor. So you know where to find us, guys. Coming at you from camp.
Yep. But we're going to be the straight out of Bangor. Bangor sounds all right. I mean, it's not Freedom, New Hampshire.
No, it's not.
It's not coming to you live from the Live Free or Die state from Freedom, New Hampshire.
We had an offer in on a place in Freedom.
Yeah. All right, peeps. We have taken up enough for your Friday.
Gotta wake up the
baby bee monster, and I gotta click refresh on this to see if Ken emails me back. All right, everyone. So God bless you. God bless your family. God bless America. May He give our leaders the wisdom to get us through this time, and may He protect each and every one of us. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Trident Shield out. Remember to like and comment below this video and subscribe to my channel for more great videos on coronavirus updates and how to protect yourself and your loved ones.